I'm going to leave and come back in.
All right. All right. All right. Well, out of respect to everybody's time, we're going to go ahead and get rolling. I'll let some of the last few trying to come in, I'll admit them. But first and foremost, my name is Jason Forbach. I'm the Associate Commissioner for the CIF Sac-Joaquin section. And set up this meeting on working with Kaylee and some of the other officials, just trying to make sure we kind of get everybody on the same page as scrimmages start to unroll, practices start, and games are right around the corner. So first and foremost, welcome everybody. Thank you for attending today. Appreciate it. And a huge thank you to Kaylee and a couple of the individuals helping him out. And he's going to kind of go into that here in a minute. But we couldn't have had this meeting without them. And so they've been training a lot in regards to the new flag football rules and what's going on. And so at this point, a couple of announcements. A lot of the coaches in here should have gotten an email from me the other day regarding sub-varsity, varsity, and JV timing. And
everybody just please mute themselves. Thank you.
Yeah, people can mute. Just that would help us out a ton. We want to give you guys the opportunity to ask questions, so we didn't mute everybody. But you should. All the coaches should got an email from me about timing, also about belts. So in California, the NFHS did come out with different rules regarding belts, and there's supposed to be 3 belts. California did set their own rules that we'll be using 2 belts in the state of California. However, the belts do have to be removable. You cannot use the breakaway belts. And so that was one of the new NFHS rules. So just be aware of that the belts have to be removable, which means you're basically using the pop flag belts. And those have to be the U style. And so anyway, so that's that. Check for that timing email that came out through CIF Home. And at this point, a huge thank you to Kaylee and a couple of other gentlemen. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to you, Kaylee.
All right. Thank you. And let me just start off with, in terms of officiating, there hasn't been anybody better working in that office than Jason. Jason has been a huge support for us across the board in terms of officiating, and I want to thank Jason for setting this up. The goal of this is to try to get us all off on a consistent same foot. We are not going to be able to cover all of the rules in this meeting. We're going to try and kind of have it broken down into 3 categories. We're going to try to cover a few big ideas with the intent of starting on the same foot. This year is going to be a learning process. People have played flag football now in this way for a couple of years. This is a different game. There's a little bit of a different game. One of the examples that I keep coming back to is just the term blocking. When we think of blocking, where we're coming from is with what we know about blocking from tackle. And blocking in flag is not the same as blocking in tackle. It's just kind of like that basic, obvious example. This is a different game, and there's going to be a learning curve. There's going to be a learning curve for all of us because we kind of need to get out there and see what this actually looks like on the field. We can have all these ideas in our head about the way thing is supposed to be and what's going to happen, but until we do it, until we get out there on the field and we're actually, playing and running these games and observing these games, we are going to need to be flexible with each other. We're going to need to be able to show each other some grace and work through this together. The good thing is we have a sound rule book that's been vetted and that has already been used. We just need to figure out how to make it work here because it already works in other places. We are going to try and keep this meeting to around an hour. To do that, this meeting is intended to be a chance for the officials that are going to present. We have 3 officials that are going to present to put some information out. We will have certain points in the meeting for questions. At those stoppages, that time is intended for coaches, not officials. The officials that are going to be presenting here are going to be on the panels. So the officials that are on the call, we want you here. We want you to hear what the coaches have to say, but we want to have the officials on the panel respond. And the officials on this call, we're going to ask you to please hold your questions until you're in your own individual groups and kind of work through those there. In addition, if you have other questions after the meeting, you can feel free to reach out to myself, to Jake, to Dale, to Sergio with those questions. But we really want to try to keep this time for the coaches. So with that, I want to turn it over to Jake Rambo. Jake Rambo is going to get us started.
Thank you. So I'm going to kick you off with a summary of major rule changes, and then my colleague from NCOA South, Dale Brunette, is going to go over a few things as it relates to fields and equipment. The big thing that, if you haven't picked up on it already, we have eliminated some major elements of the game that were kind of central to what we did the last 2 years. There will no longer be a no-run zone. The neutral zone is now a 1 yard space from the tip of the ball to 1 yard upfield. Defenses can now have unlimited rushes. You can send as many rushers as you want, as many plays as you want. There is no 7 yard release line. So all of your rushers can rush from 1 yard beyond the ball, which would be the opposite side of the neutral zone. Quarterback runs are also unlimited. Quarterbacks can run the ball on every down if you choose to do so. There is no passing clock on the quarterback anymore. We have seen some significant changes in timing that we're going to go over. The offense is now allowed to screen block throughout the field, behind the line of scrimmage and in front of the line of scrimmage. We're going to talk about screen blocking, both in terms of stationary screen blocking and moving screen blocking. But this is a major change from last year. And then finally, kicking in the form of punts has been added, and we're going to talk about that in upcoming slides. I'm going to hand it over now to Dale Burnett, who's one of the co-instructional chairs for NCOA South officials. Yeah.
Thank you, Jake. First, on behalf of the South, we'd like to thank Jason, Kaylee, and Jake for working so hard to put this together. It has been something that we've been trying to do for about the last year to make sure that the South and the North are officiating these games the same way, so that one side doesn't see a different type of game that the South sees versus the North. So with that said, Jake, I'm going to ask a question for anybody else. Is my screen is not in focus? Is it just me? It's starting to come in focus. Is it just
No,
me?
I think it's everybody. We're going to have to not rely just on the screen. So do what you can. What you see is probably what everybody else sees.
Okay, that's fine. So with the field, the one thing that first thing we want to say to you out here is there is only one approved field dimensions for the section. Okay, any other field dimensions are not approved. If you have a facility that you cannot put these field dimensions in, you're going to need to contact the section and work it out, because it's not going to be negotiated with the officials. When we get there, we're going to expect that the field is set up properly and the way that we're telling you right now. So it's 120 feet or 40 yards wide. That means it's going to be outside the numbers. There needs to be a restricted area set up. The cones need to be set up. If there is no goalposts, you need to set up pylons for where the hash marks are going to be used, because we're going to use hash marks for marking the ball this year. So when we get there, one of the first things we're going to do is with 30 minutes to go before game time of the JV game, we're going to come out and inspect this. If there are any issues, we're going to come to either the athletic director or the head coach of the home team and ask to get them fixed. Okay. So other things that you need to know about the field of play this year. You need to have a mark at the 14-yard line for where we're going to start drives at the beginning of the halves or after a touchdown. There's a neutral zone, a 1-yard neutral zone that's from the tip of the ball. So you'll see in NAIA that they use 2 discs. CIF has told us that we should not be using those discs to mark the ball and to mark the neutral zone. There is the 1 point, 3 point. For 1 point, the PAT is at the 3-yard line now. So you need to mark that. There's usually for 2 points, the PAT is a 10 yards out, and it's usually marked. There needs to be a spot for the 30-yard for after a safety, because that's where the ball will start on the defensive. If there was a safety scored against one offense, the team that was on defense, the next ball will start on their 30-yard line. And of course, there are the yard to gain markers at the 20, 40, and 20. Okay. Oh, a couple other things. You need to have a line of scrimmage marker box with a minimum of 1 adult person staffed for doing the box. We don't want students doing this. We don't need JV guys doing it for the varsity or the varsity guys doing it for the JV. You need to have an adult clock operator. You need to have those clearly defined boundaries marking for the fishes. You'll need 8 pylons for each of the corners in the end zones. And goalposts and any other sections need to be padded. If there are no goalposts to set up the hash marks from the center of the field, 23 feet apart on each, actually it's from the center, they are 23 feet apart. There's where the hash marks are. You mark them with pylons on each end zone. Okay, moving on to okay. I'm looking at my slides that I can read so that I know that I'm on I think the next slide here should be equipment, where we're going to talk about the flags that Jason just talked about. One thing we're going to tell you about these flags, that these are the only official flags that are, these specifications are the only legal ones that are to be used out there. They're not negotiable with the officials. If you have a problem with these flag specifications, you need to contact the section, because the officials are not going to negotiate with you on the field with them. So they are the removable ones. The belt, the clip-on ones are no longer valid. Clear contrast with the forms and shorts. This has been an issue with some teams where you'll come out there and they've got white stripes down the side of their shorts and they're using white flags. They have to be clearly contrasting from the flags have to clearly contrast from the shorts. And they need to be worn tight. If your player has a belt that continues to slide, we're going to send them off the field and have it corrected. If the same player continues to do that, we're going to look at the coach and we're going to say that is not a properly fitted equipment. And the next time that it happens, it's unsportsmanlike conduct or delay of game. You will start getting penalized if you're not properly equipped and you're not properly wearing your equipment. Okay. So it's the pop connection is the one that will be used. I keep looking at this slide. All right. So going on, mouthpieces. So mouthpieces may not have any attachments or adornments that are not necessary to protecting the teeth or mouth. So you can't see them, but there's an example of 3 that are okay. The one on the top has the teeth where the teeth are not sticking out. They're actually just like decals that are on it. Those are okay. The next slide that we show you, if you can see it, if you go to the next slide, Jake.
Yeah.
So
And
over
Dale,
in-
I'm going to stop the share and then restart it and see if that solves the
Okay.
problem. All right, Dale, if you want to keep going.
one thing I would ask is if anybody is on and hasn't turned their camera off, turn your cameras off now. They're not necessary. And if that's it, maybe we can gain some bandwidth back and it might clear up. So nobody should have their cameras on. All right. So, hey, Jake, are you going to send
Yes.
this slide out to people afterwards so they can take a good look at it?
I'll send it to Jason and he can make that decision.
Hey, Jake, let me try it. Let me try and share it just so we can see if we can get it for allow people to see it.
Okay, I'm going to take off the sharing.
I'm not going to be able to do it.
Okay.
Is there a way to make him the host or something? Is it like,
let me try sharing one more time
okay.
and see if it works this way.
I mean,
How's that?
well, that was real clear for a second.
Is there any improvement with it?
Not really.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we're just gonna have to do our best, and we'll get that out to you via
All right.
email.
So what I'm going to tell you about this slide when you get a chance to look at it is the one up in the right-hand corner. Those teeth are sticking out. They're not just a sticker. So that's why they're illegal, because they're more like an adornment. And the pacifier one and the other one that's got a little decal on it. Those are adornments. Those are not legal on your mouthpieces. The other thing that's not legal that a lot of people will use is those Insuline ones, the ones they're wearing for orthodontics that they're using in place of braces these days. You'll see guys, ladies or players, if you will, that try and wear those as a mouthpiece. That is not a legal mouthpiece. That is an illegal mouthpiece. So all of these will not be allowed, and you will be asked to get a proper mouthpiece. And if you come onto the field with it, you will be asked to leave. Hopefully, we will take care of this during equipment inspection before the game. Jewelry, no earrings, no nose rings, no eyebrow piercings, no belly button piercings. What the ladies can do is they can take off their jewelry, and if they want, they have those silicone plugs that can be worn to fill the piercing holes. They are the plastic safe ones. The idea is to get the metal and the stones off that are dangerous, that can tear somebody else or can hurt the player if they get ripped or etc. The exception is the medical bracelets that need to be taped down or completely covered, and religious medallions must be under the shirt and taped down. Face and body paint. The only thing that's legal is a single stripe of black eye under each eye. Last year we allowed, I'm just reading this, and last year during the October with breast cancer, we allowed pink ones just because it was the pink month. I have to check and see. That might be an exception to the just black eye under each eye. So any face paintings that look like a cross or look like I'm looking at pictures here. It looks like they're some kind of scary Halloween costume. Those won't be allowed. Okay. All right, we're going to go into timing of the games now. So we've moved from 2 halves to 4 12-minute quarters, with a 1 minute interval between quarters, 5-minute interval between halves. There are only 2 timeouts per half now. No more carryovers. If you don't use your timeouts in the first half, you lose them. You don't carry them over. One timeout per extra timeout period. Yeah, easy for you to say. There's a 1 minute officials timeout at the 2 minute or at the end of play. And there's the 25-second clock will start on the ready. There are going to be clock stops that I go over here. Where's it? Here's the next slide. The clock stops at any point. They will be for charged timeouts or official timeouts. For penalty enforcements at the end of the period. The 2 minute timeout after a touchdown. Tries will be an untimed down. They change of possession. So after a punt, or if you go for it on 4th and you don't get to the line of gain, or an inadvertent whistle. Any of those stoppages before the 2 minutes, well, actually throughout the whole quarter, play will start when the ball is marked and is chopped down for ready. And that's when the clock and the play clock will start for 25 seconds. Before the last 2 minutes, there will not be any timeouts for incomplete passes or out of bounds. Those are the final 2 minute timeouts that are provided. And during the 4th quarter, if any team, if the deficit becomes greater than 28 points or greater, we'll go to a running clock. Hey, that's clear now.
I think someone else is sharing it now.
Oh, well, that's good because I'm done. Let's take some questions on the equipment and game times over that last section that I just did. Do you want?
Yeah, I have a question.
All right, we're gonna try and take about 3 questions here, and then we will we will have additional time at the end. And I do apologize for the PowerPoint issue. It looks like we've got it solved now. But we'll work with Jason to make sure that gets mailed out to everyone.
Coaches, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
We were asked to mark the, I think it was the 14-yard marker from the end zone, the goal line. You just want us to put like a dot there. I'm just trying to, think what that's going to look like on our field, with a bunch of markings that aren't normally there.
What we're talking about with all these markings, Coach, are just cones on the sideline.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
That's the same for the restricted area on the sideline, the team box, the 20, the 40. You want to probably have pylons for your end zones. But cones are what we're asking you to use when we're say marking the field. We're not asking you to paint or to do anything of that sort on your fields.
Question answered. Thank you very much.
Along those lines, gentlemen, with the hash marks, are you saying that if we have a goalpost, we need to have a cone underneath the goalpost, or are you just utilizing the goalpost as a marker hash?
We will utilize the goalpost for our marking if your field is centered.
Goalposts are 23 feet apart.
Yeah, the goalposts are a couple inches short of the 8 yards, that we're supposed to have for the hash marks, but it's close enough. We're off by a couple inches, and so we're going to use the goalpost.
And
Yeah,
as
but
part,
remember, we can only use the goalpost if you guys are marking the center of the actual football field. If you're using one of the sidelines as one of your sidelines, at that point, we cannot use the goalposts. You have to mark them with pylons.
Yes.
I saw a
Right.
question in chat that asks if you have to mark the sidelines with a line.
If you're using an area of the field where there is no line, so if you're using one of the sidelines, then the other out of bounds on the opposite side of the field does need to be marked with cones.
We will accept cones or a painted line, but we need a clear boundary so that we can officiate whether the ball is in or out of play. And Jason, we're on slide 19 if you want to move up.
And just to be clear, we're not asking you guys to paint your fields.
We are not going to be using cones to spot the ball. The line judge on the sideline will be defining the neutral zone with his feet. I know that NAIA, those of you who've watched the film, they use marking cones. We will not be doing that at this time. We're waiting for the CIF to let us know. Let's move on, and we'll get back to additional.
We have at least two questions. We can try and get the names are cut off on my screen. I'm sorry, but it's Coach MA was the first one.
Okay.
Quickly. Okay, we're going to move on from Coach MA. Coach Corner.
Yeah, gentlemen, can you go back because it was blurry early on? Can you go to the field dimensions real quick? Because I just want you had said that they're going to be below the line. Okay, the numbers now. How are we going under the numbers? So treat me like a 5-year-old, like I've never coached flag football because we've always been using like 2/3 of the field width. But is it like a wider field now, and we're just using all of it? What are we looking at here?
No, this isn't. This picture is an ideal situation.
That's what I thought. This isn't a field because we've just been altering our field, right?
Yes, you're going to alter your field. Period.
Yeah, Coach, it is, but Coach, I will say it is wider than the fields we've used in the past.
Okay,
so in the past we were top of the numbers to top of the numbers roughly.
Okay.
Now you're looking at going bottom of the numbers roughly, because top of the numbers to top of the numbers on a tackle field is 106 feet. That leaves you 14 feet short.
Got it.
The numbers are about a yard tall each. So if your lines are looking to line up just below the numbers.
Okay, so here's my question. We run next level at our place, and what we do in the middle of the tunnel part, when we divide it up into 2 sections, we use rope that's attached. Can we use rope so that we don't have to mess around? And like it would be more accurate to be straight down the line. It's almost like having a cone out there, but it's like if you
the rope really isn't safe to have out there on the field.
Yeah, I'm just asking because that would be really, really freaking easy to just roll it out.
Yeah.
So you're gonna say do it by cones then?
Yeah, if you don't, if you want to use that rope, maybe chalk up that rope and then spank that rope with that's all chalked up to create a line.
There we go. Little League baseball days. Thanks, guys.
All right, back to did Coach MA real quick. I think you tried to jump in.
Yes, I want to know what's going to happen in the event that the belts don't contrast with the uniform. I mean, they don't contrast with the uniforms. Like, is it going to be like we're going to end the game? Like, are they going to try to find other flags? Like, what's going to happen with that?
Now, ultimately, that's the official's decision. Number one, the opposing coach doesn't get to make that decision. We want to play these games where that'd probably be a penalty on the coach, and we're probably going to try and facilitate that game. And then we're going to put in an incident report to the section so that that can be dealt with. In football this year, we're really trying to get away from the officials having prolonged disagreements and arguments about equipment.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And then Kelly Hooks, last question here.
Yes, I was curious about tournaments. If we're able to like reduce the time for quarters, is that possible?
Yes, and you can go to run, and the tournament should be running clock time.
Okay, but we wouldn't be able to shorten it from 12 to like 10 or whatever the case may be.
Yes, you can.
Okay, what's the minimum?
Jason, do you have a minimum?
Yeah, what we sent out for tournaments and what was decided was your varsity, you're running 412s, there will be 0 stoppage time. So it'll just be a running clock.
So it still has to be 12 minutes though?
Yep, but no stoppage time at all.
Okay. Right.
Jason, the email you sent out said that they could have shortened to 10, but not
For
shorter.
JV.
For
So
JV,
JV,
okay.
they can go 410s, varsity 412s, no stoppage time, or they can play just regular rules or regular times.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's move
I
on
see-
to the next section.
Yeah, real quick, I see a question about sunglasses. No, they may not wear sunglasses. They may not wear tinted lenses. If you think you need a medical exemption, that's between you and the section office. Otherwise, the officials are not going to allow it. And I think we're on now to section slide 20. And if you're not speaking, if you could go ahead and mute. So looking at, all right, we're past that. We're on slide 21. Gameplay. So I'm going to give you just kind of an overview of what gameplay looks like in this format. As I said earlier, we're going to have a 1-yard neutral zone that starts at the tip of the ball. All offensive players must be behind the neutral zone. Only the snapper may be on the line. We're going to talk about the snapper in just a second. Defensive players must be beyond the neutral zone. So now the offense and the defense will be separated by a yard. Fouls prior to the snap. We're looking for false starts. That is a movement by the offense that simulates the snap. We are enforcing false start much more strictly this year than we did last year. Last year, the movement was not as significant because it wasn't triggering the player directly across from them to cross the line. We were looking at movements that would trigger a 7-yard rusher to step in front of the 7-yard mark. Now, with players close to each other in proximity, we're going to be strictly enforcing movements that simulate a snap. Offensive and defensive players can be flagged for encroachment, that is being in the neutral zone at the snap or entering into the neutral zone prior to the snap for a defensive player. And then defensive players, the disconcerting act foul in tackle is now applicable in flags. So the defense, you cannot use words or actions prior to the snap that interfere with the offense's signals or their movements. So if the offense is clapping to initiate the snap, you may not clap on defense. If we can't hear words that simulate what the offense is using to trigger its plays, whether it's set, hut, or motion, or anything of that nature, the defense cannot replicate it. That's strictly prohibited now. So we're moving to slide 22. Rules for the snapper. Snappers do not have to snap through their legs, but the snapper needs to be aligned behind the ball. They cannot have a foot in front of the ball. You can have your hand, the center's hand can be on the tip of the ball. The ball must point, each of the points of the ball must be pointing at the end zones. You cannot turn the ball sideways and have the points face the sidelines. Snappers, once your snapper puts her hand on the ball, she may not remove her hand or make a movement with the ball that simulates a snap. That does not prohibit the center tipping the ball up to get a better grip or gripping it tighter. We're looking for movements with the ball that simulate a snap. Now, there's been some questions about this rule, so I want to take a second to talk about the person who receives the snap. I'm not going to use the word quarterback because of the nature of the rule here. The rule says that the recipient of the snap must be 2 yards behind the ball. When you consider that the snapper takes up approximately 1 yard, we're looking for 1 foot of the person who receives the snap being 2 yards back, which is not that far. This rule does not prohibit hand-to-hand snapping. What the rule is intended to prevent is the offense crowding multiple players up close to the center so as to deceive the defense regarding who the intended recipient of the snap is. Now, you can have multiple players in position to receive the snap beyond 2 yards, but only one obvious quarterback or recipient if they're crowded up there right real close to that 2 yard mark. The snapper is not required to snap the ball to the person lined behind them. The ball may be snapped sideways in any direction so long as it goes slightly backwards from the line of scrimmage. But the center may not pick the ball up and cock it like to do an underhand throw. It has to be a single fluid movement. We're not looking to be hard on snappers who are making a through the legs or a directly backward pass to the quarterback. Where we're really going to be strict in enforcement on this is when you're attempting to snap to somebody who's not an obvious quarterback, say a snap that goes 15 yards across the field, things like that. There, we're going to be very strict in the enforcement in terms of not picking the ball up or, cocking it or winding up to throw it. All right. Slide 23. At the snap, all offensive players must be set for a second before the snap. So if you have multiple players in motion at the same time, such as when you break the huddle, they all must come set. If 6 players come set and 1 player never does, that's an illegal shift. If you have 2 players go in motion, both must come set, or you have an illegal shift. 1 offensive player may be in motion at the snap. They may motion down the neutral zone so long as they don't enter the neutral zone, but they cannot be moving toward the neutral zone at the moment the ball is snapped. These fouls are live ball fouls, so play will continue, and then the foul will be assessed at the end of the play, after the play. All right, turning to 24. At the snap, we talked about this earlier, so I won't spend a lot of time. After the snap, any defensive player in any number may cross the neutral zone. The defense may intercept any pass or any loose ball prior to the ball touching the ground. A fumbled ball is down when it touches the ground. A ball that is not in player possession, that is in the air, is fair game for any player to recover and advance. After the snap, the offense can either advance the ball by running or passing. I know that in this style of flag football, you tend to see a lot of double passes and a lot of laterals. But the offense is entitled to 1 forward pass per play. Even if the ball is caught behind the line of scrimmage, if the ball is thrown forward, that is your 1 forward pass, and it will be an illegal forward pass if there's a second pass. And the forward pass must be thrown from behind the line of scrimmage. Beyond the line of scrimmage, you may pitch or pass sideways or backwards. It cannot go forward. Here are the restrictions on passers. We're on slide 26. First of all, intentional grounding is now prohibited in flag football. We're looking at, and it is a 5-yard foul from the spot of the pass, and it includes a loss of down. So it's a significant foul. We're looking for a pass that is intentionally thrown into an area where there is no receiver, or a pass intentionally thrown incomplete to save yardage or time. We know that in the NFL, in all forms of tackle now, there is an exception to intentional grounding if the quarterback rolls out of the pocket, out of the tackle box, and they throw a pass that reaches the line of scrimmage. Those rules do not apply in flag. So if you throw a pass intentionally to save yardage, or into an area without a receiver, it will not matter where the quarterback or the passer was standing. Intentional grounding, there's an exception, and that is for spiking the quarterback who receives the snap and spikes the ball. A quarterback in a shotgun, in a pistol, no matter how far back they are, can still spike the ball to stop the clock in stoppage time. However, if they bobble it, if they muff it, if they fail to gain immediate control, then they forfeit that exception. Roughing the passer, an important rule and key piece of enforcement this year. Head and neck contact carries the strong likelihood of classification as a flagrant foul. This is a 10-yard foul, automatic first down. It can be tacked on to the end of the run. Coaches, you need to be teaching your defenders to target the quarterback's flags and to target one hip, one flag. No wraparound double flag attacks. And that really should be the coaching throughout the field. Do not make an effort to pull two flags. Target a hip and grab that flag. That is the best way to avoid a foul. And then this year, a point of emphasis is to ensure that the passer has a clean area for follow through. So it's going to be a lot of judgment for the official, but if your rushers are coming in, standing up tall and stopping in front of the quarterback, and that's interfering with a complete follow through, that could put you at jeopardy for roughing the passer. Pass interference, I just want to go over, we're on slide 28, go over just a couple real quick. We're looking for the points of emphasis this year. We are not going to call pass interference for unavoidable contact when two players are making true efforts to catch the pass. Offenses, your pass interference restriction begins at the snap. So if you send a player out and they form a stationary block in front of a defender who is moving to defend the pass, and the ball is thrown forward beyond the line of scrimmage, that can be pass interference. Because pass interference includes interfering with the movement towards the ball. Defense, your pass interference restriction begins when the ball leaves the quarterback's hand. And then coaches, it's a 10-yard foul from the previous spot. It is not an automatic first down. Just like in tackle football in high school, it's not an automatic first down. We had a lot of argument with us about that last year. And in the past, it is not an automatic first down. Just be aware of that. Running plays. Important distinctions here for restrictions on the runner this year. They cannot use their arms or hands to ward off an opponent. So no stiff arms. They cannot use hands, arms, or ball to prevent a deflagging. Want to be clear, flag guarding is not a foul anymore. Flag guarding is in what used to be considered flag guarding is now encompassed in the illegal contact rule, and it only applies to actual contact with an opponent in an effort to deny the opponent the opportunity to deflag. So all of the movements and the gestures and the stuff that we heard a lot about from the sideline last year, we're looking for clear contact. Runners may not charge into a defender, nor may they hurdle a defender. We have some film that we may be able to get to, but with the technical issues, we're probably going to have to pass on it. But I encourage you to watch the NAIA film. They have all of their championship games on YouTube. What you'll see is when a player runs into an area where they are obviously going to be deflagged or they have no path out, they give themselves up. We do not want to see everybody fighting for extra yards, lowering shoulders, continuing to run. Players who are clearly going to be down by a defense that has clearly boxed them in, they need to give themselves up. Defenders, you may not initiate contact with an opponent, and you may not deflag a player that is not in possession of the ball. It's pretty straightforward. The rules for the defense have largely remained the same compared to what they were last year. With that, I'll open it up for any questions on gameplay.
Hey, Jake, just real quick. Flag guarding is still defined in the book, but it's just a subsection of illegal use of hands. But you will find a 10-yard flag guarding penalty in the penalty chart in the rule book. And they call it flag guarding. So it's just a subsection of illegal use of hands.
Yeah. If we can, we'll take one coach question, and then to honor your time, we want to get to the screen blocking. That's probably the most important part of our presentation tonight. So do we have one question on gameplay?
There's a number of questions in the chat. A number of them are about blocking, so hopefully we can answer those at the end. And I mean, just leading us into this blocking part, there's going to be contact, but what we're looking for is impactful contact and somebody initiating contact. I know you guys might not want to hear it, but one of the last comments made was about giving yourself up. If you do watch the NAIA tournament, a lot of times that's what happens. The players do give themselves up when they realize there's not going to be any other option for them except for to charge into somebody, which in this game is a foul to charge into somebody. Now, with that being said, is there contact? Yes. But is the contact part of the competition that's going on? Is it part of the gameplay, or is it somebody simply running into each other? One of the other questions was, is diving legal? You cannot dive if there's a player in position in front of you.
Yeah, runners. So the diving rules and the jumping rules we had last year, those are not in effect this year. But what we're looking at is, did it create illegal contact? Did you dive in and hit someone? That's not going to be allowed. And I see the comment about 1 yard rush is definitely going to be contact. I want to encourage every one of you to watch the NAIA National Finals. You will see how the blocking works, and there is not, there really isn't a lot of contact if it's done correctly. And you'll also see how we will be enforcing it. But let me go to slide number 31, which is we're going to talk about screen blocking. The objective of screen blocking, the objective of blocking in flag football in this format is delaying rushers, not stopping them. So in tackle football, we're grabbing, we're blocking, we are physically trying to prevent someone from moving. That is not the case in flag. You are trying to delay them from progressing upfield. Now, the offense can engage in screen blocking anywhere on the field. And I want to talk about the key principles that we're going to use as we enforce the screen blocking rules. Number one is the concept of right of position. The way to think of that is just like basketball when someone sets a screen or sets a pick. If you move in and you establish yourself in a position with sufficient time that you're not running into someone else as they're moving, then the offensive player who clearly establishes their right of position, they have priority over a defender who's moving in a straight line. So the defender is the one who must avert contact with the stationary offensive player. But what we're going to see most of the time is offensive players who are moving. When an offensive player is moving, the defender who is moving in a straight path has the priority. So it is the offensive player who must give up their movement to allow the defender to pass once the defender is in a position to pass them. And then obviously a player with right of way will always hold priority over a player who does not have it. And what we mean by that is If a defensive player is running forward and someone else is running in a crooked line, or they're not watching, not paying attention, they have no right of way, and they will be the recipient of the foul if we have hard contact or contact that interferes in a material way with the deflagging effort. So then turning to slide 32, we talk about right of position. If a blocker becomes stationary and their hands, arms, feet, and are not extended into an unnatural width, then the offensive player has the right of position and the defender must avoid contact. When you are screening, I highly recommend that you discuss with your players where to put their arms. At the NAIA level, most blocking is done with the hands behind the back. We've seen some teams where they grab and hold their shorts, but their arms cannot make their body or their position bigger. That's number one. Number two, screen blocking. A screen blocker may move parallel to a defender's path. So if the defender is running north-south on the field, directly between the goal lines, the defender can the blocker may slide her feet along that path, keeping a blocking position. But when the defender changes their path, that screening blocker must also change their path. And then changing their path, they cannot put themselves in a position where contact is created. That will be a foul on the screen blocker. So again, because I can't show you the videos, I encourage you to watch with your players the way the blocking goes in the NAIA. You don't see a lot of contact because the blockers, when they recognize that they can no longer screen, they cannot move into a position to block any longer without endangering or without generating contact, then they give up the block and they let the rusher go. And then we talked about this already. A defender moving on a straight line has priority over a blocking player. So if they're moving in parallel and the defender then turns her path 90 degrees in another direction, if the blocker is moving, she's going to need to get out of the way, or if the defender initiates contact that rises to a material impediment to the rush, then the foul would go to the offensive player. Again, one of the feedback we've heard statewide from coaches is that this screen blocking is going to be a bloodbath, or we're going to have so much contact now. I encourage you to watch the film. It is, we are going to strictly enforce the rules in terms of material restriction. We're not looking for no contact. This is not a no contact sport. This is a limited contact sport. But when we have hard contact, if the screen blocker is moving and she initiates that contact, that foul will go against the screen blocker. And you need to be coaching your players to give up the block when they're defeated. You need to be coaching your ball carriers. They cannot truck a defender. They cannot run through defenders. They need to be giving themselves up. We're not going to throw a flag when a girl is obviously pulling up and then they bump into each other. But when we have the plays like we saw a lot last year, where a ball carrier runs through the defender, hoping that the defender will, in the collision, not grab her flags, that is going to be a foul. And that can be, in certain circumstances, elevated to a flagrant personal foul, which is disqualification. Lastly, slide 33. We already talked about that for the most part. And like I said, I cannot show you the video, so I'm going to go straight to questions. I know there's going to be a lot of question about screen blocking.
Jake, this is Jason, and to everyone on this call from the section office through CIF Home, we will send out video clips of the NAIA stuff so that all the coaches and athletic directors can watch it.
Yeah, I'm sorry that we don't have a reliable enough connection to share those. I think when you see it, it gets a lot easier to understand what we're talking about. If you watch the 2024 link that Dale just sent out, at about 2 minutes and 13 seconds, for about 5 minutes of play there, you'll see just about everything. You'll see just about everything that could come up in terms of blocking, an interception and fumbles, and there's even a punt right at the end of about that 5-minute window.
All right, so Jake, let's try to get a couple of questions here. Chris Williams, do you have a question?
I do. I have two questions. Actually, the first one is regarding quarterback follow through. The quarterback is falling through and the defender jumps up to try to tip the pass and the quarterback's hand is hit on the follow through. Is that a penalty for the defense?
Yes, that's roughing the passer.
Okay, so I'm not
you
going to.
You should not be rushing hands up, and you should not be, when you rush, let me put it differently. When you rush hands up, or when you're up trying to block a pass, you're putting yourself at a likelihood of drawing the foul if there's contact. And
Perfect.
If there's head and neck contact, we may see a disqualification.
Second thing is
to be rushing hands down at targeting the hip.
I understand. Next question. This is a limited contact sport. Basketball is a no contact sport. Is defending, or should be, is screening as a blocker protecting the quarterback, is that going to be similar to the way you defend in basketball or less contact than the non-contact sport basketball? That's what I'm trying to get my head around. Is it like when you defend in basketball, someone's driving to the hole, you move your feet with them. If you lean in them and create contact and it pushes them out of the way, obviously that's a foul. They get 2 shots. That whole thing. Is it like that?
It is. I will say that the allowable contact is let me back up for a second first. The big difference between screen blocking and basketball picks is
I'm not talking about pick. I'm not talking about a pick. I'm talking about defending in basketball. Michael Jordan has the ball and he's driving down the hole and I'm running with him. And if he's airborne and I bump into him, it's a foul. I can still run parallel to him.
Right. In flag, there is not a foul for setting a moving screen, is what I'm trying to get at with a blocker. They can continue to move their feet so long as they can keep themselves in a position. A lot of those otherwise, a lot of the basketball concepts do apply. But in terms of the amount of contact we see in basketball, where, one way or another, there's going to be a foul, we're kind of in the same position here. If the rusher established position and the blocker doesn't get out of the way and there's contact, the foul will go against the blocker if it rises to the level of a foul. If the blocker is in an appropriate position, has established their position, and is stationary, and the rusher initiates contact, then the foul will go against the rusher if it rises to the level of a foul.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's just the words don't translate to me viewing it. Like I'm imagining, and I don't want to take up too much time. I'm imagining a girl shuffling her feet on offense, trying to screen, another girl going full speed at the quarterback, and they're kind of moving together in tandem. And at some point, they touch. What happens there?
Well, I don't want to use the word touch. What I'm going to use is a football word. If there is a material contact or a material restriction, then there's a likelihood of a foul being called. But again, when a blocker is beaten, when the rusher has reached a point where the blocker cannot slide over and continue the parallel movement, then the default is the blocker needs to get out of the way and allow the rusher through. We're delaying, we're not stopping.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
The NAIA video really does help with that.
All right, Mr. Horner.
I love the fact that he was using basketball as the analogy, because that's kind of what I'm wrapping my head around here. It seems, and I'm not talking just rushing, right? Let's talk about, as long as the blocker has established their position and they're not moving, hands behind their back, if there's initiated dangerous contact, whatever the phrase you just used, then it's going to be on the defense. They have to get out of their way. So when we can teach, like in tackle, a rip move or an arm over move, avoiding the blocker as a rusher, right?
Hold on. Hey, so Coach Horner, I'd try and stop right there, because we have to, blocking and tackle, like we started, like at the beginning, blocking and tackle is different. So equating that to flag, it's not going to work. We got to try to break that.
No,
So
I'm not. That's not what I'm saying.
I just want to break your questions apart so we can try to answer it piece by piece. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
But if what you're saying to occur, your blocker would basically need to be stationary at the snap and not move at all. Once your blocker is trying to divert the route of the defensive player, it is contingent on the offensive blocker to get out of the way, because the defensive player has the right of way. They've initiated that motion forward. Your offensive blocker can basically try to make the defense have to go around her. Now, if your blocker is extremely slow and your defensive player basically gets to her and is level with her, they now have the pathway. They can't just step in front of them and take that charge like the basketball language might be. That's a different idea. This is going to be a learning curve for all of us. It's going to require coaches to think a little bit differently about coaching players about what blocking is. And that's so hard because we're also hardwired to what blocking is. Even the people who are playing this game are hardwired that way. They've been watching it. It's what they see. It's what they know. And now we kind of have to work on making a new understanding with these new rules.
Oh, no, I understand that.
So, Coach, if I may, just for a section, if you read the rule book, it's very clear. Blocking is illegal. This is screen blocking. Everybody keeps talking blocking. It's not blocking. Screen blocking. Use the term screen blocking, and you're going to start differentiating yourself from just thinking of it as blocking.
Okay, I should have used this word screens. Here's my question, because I've been watching a lot of YouTube state championship game. There's a good one from Georgia, and from the way it looks, the center, like there's certain techniques that I've been seeing. Center snaps the ball, they run back, they establish their feet, hand behind their back, and that rusher who's on a straight line avoids them. Now it's a screen. So it's the same things done with the running back coming from a sidecar position to the quarterback. They step in front and screen, and you can kind of like plan an offense around that, like screening, making the girl run around you. You could roll left and kind of complete a pass.
Perfect.
Okay, so we're on the same page, because the way you just said was, if you impede a defensive rush at all, they have contact. But if you're getting in between them and the rush, you're impeding it, because they're going to run on a straight line, right? So even if like we set a screen, we put our hands behind and we shuffle our feet and we stop and we're 1001, 1002, boom. That defender has to work around us, correct?
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Same thing. So then I'm going to say screen and not block. So here's my question. That's what we're going to teach throughout, because if you look, there's certain things where you could throw to a second receiver, stack behind another person. That person screens the DB, and that DB has to run around. They go the opposite way, and it's a way to read blocks. Correct?
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
Here's my question. When we have a screen downfield, and let's say a defender doesn't realize the screen's there, kind of like basketball, like when you're setting a screen at the top of the key and that defender's concentrating on the point guard, he comes left and that guy runs into that person. That screener has established, as long as they've established their position, they're in the right, correct?
So what you're
Correct.
kind of describing is incidental contact.
What I'm saying is like downfield, a play's happening, they see it, they stop, put their hands behind their backs, and that defender runs into them because they don't see them coming.
So, coach, let me ask it this way. So I'm that defender. I see the girl's not paying attention, and I just go position myself in front of her so that the girl runs into me. Is that
The
a foul?
offensive player. No, I'm talking about the offensive player as established
Either
position.
player.
Yes, and the defender
So
doesn't.
in your mind, would that be a foul?
That's what I'm asking. Is that a foul?
No, I'm asking you.
So Chris,
would that be a foul?
Well, what I'm saying is, as long as the offensive player, the screener, has established position, I think the defender who runs into the person is fouled. That's what I'm trying to understand, because that's going to kind of open up what we can do and can't do.
So, Coach, there's two things to that, because I've heard that question at the league meetings I've been to as well.
Yes, sir.
Let's assume it's a running play and not a passing play, because the passing play is going to be a little different.
Sure.
We're looking at time and space, right? Did the defender have an opportunity to see, stop, avoid? Does the defender see it and load up and try to go through her? Or does she stop and they kind of bump into each other, but you know, it was more of a glancing blow, trying to avoid it, but you know, she got caught. She got ear holed. She was looking the wrong direction. We have to use our judgment as officials to determine whether or not it rises to the level of a foul. But talking about a strict interpretation without getting into the variables, the various variables that could apply, the offensive player who is stationary has priority over the defensive player who's moving in a straight line. It's only when the offensive player is moving that the defensive player gets higher priority.
Fair
enough. The second element of that I just want to touch on briefly is that offensive player's stationary priority goes away if it's a passing play, because now if that defender is moving towards where the ball is being thrown, and again, it has to be if the offensive player is clearly on the path of a defender who can defend that pass, it doesn't matter that the offensive player has a right to that position. It's offensive pass interference, because the offense cannot impede a defender from reaching the pass play. So again, running play versus passing play is going to change that up a little bit. And I hope that was clear. You know, the hardest thing here is we're talking about a game that's very visual, and we're trying to put words to it.
Sure. And now that would hold even if it was behind the line of scrimmage. So like, because there's a lot of backwards passes you see, and let's say, you know, you backwards pass to a receiver on the far end, and they have a screener in front of them. Would that DB now become a pass rusher, treating it the same way, establishing your feet, them going around you, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah. And just remember, it's just like tackle football. Offensive pass interference restrictions begin at the snap. Defensive pass interference restrictions begin when the ball is airborne.
Right. Now, I know there's a heavy emphasis on this blocking thing, because honestly, trying to figure out what kind of offense you're going to run with a 1 yard rush, that's the thing that's going to be problematic, I think, with everybody. So that's why there's so much emphasis on these questions. That's all I'm saying.
And I think if coaches, if you have not watched the videos out there, it's going to help a lot.
Right.
And frankly, you're going to get, I'm not here to coach. I'm just here to talk about the rules, but I think you'll learn a lot about gameplay and strategy if you watch them. I found them very enjoyable to watch and also very educational. One of the things we are going to be doing as officials, our highest priority is to get the over aggressive, heavy contact out. Bumping into each other while you're pulling up, we're not looking to throw flags for those ticky tacks. We're looking for, but what we have to get out of the game is what we tried to address mid-season last year with some of the interpretations that came out. We've got to get out of the mindset that I can run over somebody if I have a full head of steam, and we're going to have hard contact to break through, or or try to deny a deflagging. We are going to be working to get that level of contact out. So we're going to go to punting, because this is new. it's not like tackle football punting. The first thing I want to tell you, you can screen block on the return of a punt. That said, the feedback we've heard from NAIA coaches is that it's not worth the potential of a foul to screen block a punt. They let the ball carrier run free. They'll have stationary blockers, and the ball carrier may have pre-planned routes through the stationary blockers, but they do not try to screen block because it results in a foul in virtually every play. So punt, coaches, you got to declare the punt before the referee chops it in with a ready for play signal. It's not like last year where you could run the clock down and make the punt call at the end. If you change your mind and decide you want to punt or you want to go for it, if you said you were going to punt, you're going to need to take a timeout or have some other stoppage. If there's a dead ball foul, if there's a timeout by the other team, or a timeout for an interval change from the first to the second quarter. Kicker must be at least 2 yards behind the neutral zone when her foot strikes the ball. Until the ball is kicked, so until it hits the kicker's foot, no player may enter the neutral zone. Defense, and to the extent that you've got some tall, athletic jumper who's going to try and jump up and tip low punts, that neutral zone is a plane of glass. You're not going to be able to step in or slightly creep in to leverage the jump. Most importantly, though, offense, there is a set of false start rules that apply to the offense between the snap and the kick. Once the ball is snapped to the kicker, the offensive players may not engage in any acts that are intended to cause the receiving team to encroach. So you can't do any head movements or shimmies or anything. And then no player other than the kicker can be moving at the time of the kick. So you can't have players getting ahead of steam to get downfield. You can't be running parallel to the line. They must be set. Now, we're not looking for pillars of salt that can't move. We're looking for feet set, not inching forward, not moving. And they have to remain that way until the ball touches the foot. Again, the disconcerting act rule applies during this interval between the snap and the kick. So the defense, if you realize the offense has some kind of kicking word or something like that, you cannot do anything that would intended to cause the offense to interfere with the offense. Kicker must kick the ball within 5 seconds. So, as you're doing your timing math, if you've got 6 seconds left in the quarter and you declare a punt, you're not going to be able to hold the ball. It's going to have to be kicked before the clock runs out. Kick catch interference. This is when a ball is in flight and it has crossed the neutral zone. Kicking team, you cannot touch the ball if a receiver is in the area. You cannot obstruct a receiver's path to the ball. And that will be kick catch interference, and it's going to be a little confusing. But what we're talking about is when the receiving team has a player positioned to come into possession of the ball, you cannot interfere with that, and that includes obstructing. So it's more than tackle football where we're looking for, actual contact or being within a specific zone. We're looking at cutting off receivers who are trying to get to the ball while it's in flight. There's an obvious exception if the kicking team has been forced into or blocked into the ball or has had to avoid a block, and that causes them to get into that interference area, then the kick catch interference is waived. The other exception is if the receiving team has clearly touched the ball after it passed the neutral zone. So If the receiving team tips the ball in flight and it hasn't touched the ground, then the offense is not subject to the kick catch interference rule. Kicks are an exception to the fumbling guidelines. Generally, a ball that was in player possession hits the ground, the play is dead. On a kick, the ball is dead after it touches any player and then strikes the ground. It's also dead if there's no receiver in the area and the offense catches the ball in flight. But it is not dead if the ball touches the ground untouched by either team beyond the neutral zone. The receiver has the opportunity to pick the ball up off the ground and advance it. So I'll make sure we're clear about that. That's the one exception where you can pick up a grounded ball and run with it. But if it's been touched by either team before it reaches the ground, then it's going to be dead upon first contact by either team. Kicks into the end zone. If the ball breaks the plane of the receiver's goal line, doesn't matter if it's in the air or on the ground, it's a touchback. I saw film of it happening. It sounds a little weird, but it can happen, especially with some of the girls' uncertainty about kicking. If a punt hits the ground and becomes dead in the end zone, so it doesn't just break the plane, it actually has to become dead. Someone touches it. If it's in the kicker's end zone, it's a safety. After the receivers touch the ball, if it's muffed and it's tipped up in the air, the kicking team may catch it while it's in the air and they will have possession, but they cannot advance it. So if that muff is tipped up, now if a muff goes to the ground, it's dead. But if it's tipped into the air and the receivers can gain possession before it touches the ground, then it's their ball at the spot where they gain possession. They cannot advance it.
It's their ball, providing they made the line to gain.
Yeah. Any questions from coaches about
Okay,
the
Jake, I got a few. Let me go before we go to question. Let's try and answer a few that have repeated in the chat for everybody to hear in case you're not paying attention to the chat. So one that's been repeated is ball's been snapped. Can the center or anybody else on the offense move until the ball is kicked?
Yes, but they may not be moving at the time the ball is kicked. And you have 5 seconds to kick that ball.
Okay, so we have a clean snap. Punter has the ball. Can the center move to make it possible for the kicker to punt the ball downfield?
Yes. But she has to stop moving before the ball strikes the kicker's foot.
Okay. If
No,
there's
the snapper cannot, nobody on the offense can move except the punter. Once the ball is kicked, then anybody on the offense can move. The defense can move. Just the offense cannot move.
I apologize. Sergio's correct on that. That was my mistake.
So once the ball is snapped, everybody on offense needs to stay set until the ball is kicked.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody but the kicker. The kicker can go left, right. She can take a couple steps. Just like a rugby kicker, she can take a running start and kick it. Just she's the only one. The punter is the only one out of the 7 that can move.
Okay. And if there's a bad snap, is the ball dead or can the punter pick it up?
Ball is dead.
If there's a bad snap, it's dead where she drops it or muffs it and it hits the ground. Once that ball hits the ground, it's dead at that spot and it's B gets the ball.
Okay, and then so that also answers another coach's question in a roundabout way. You cannot, if you turn the ball over, you just run your play and the other team gets the ball where that play ended if you don't make the line to gain. You can't just say we want to declare a punt. We don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
No, they either have to go for it or declare a punt. They can't just say, well, we don't have a punter and can they just take the ball at their 20 or at their 14-yard line and go the other way? No, they either have to go for it or declare punt. It's not like last year where they say, can we just declare punt and give them the ball? No.
Okay. All right, coaches, are there, I tried to get a few of the ones quickly that I saw there in the chat.
Kaylee, I see one. Punt out of bounds. It's going to be, the ball will be dead at the spot where it crossed the sideline.
Okay, now we're going to go in order. We have 4 coaches with questions. Anthony.
Yeah, I was asking a question about formation earlier. It wasn't relative to punt. So if you guys
That's fine. Real quick, go ahead, shoot it out there.
Okay, so I believe at the beginning I heard that there's only going to be one person on the line of scrimmage. I just wanted some clarification.
There's no restrictions on where your players line up.
Okay, and if they are on the line of scrimmage, are they still able to move into motion? I know last season they had to be offset to move in motion.
No, the rule now is similar to football. There, you guys can have motion. If you have multiple people in motion, everybody's got to come set before the snap occurs. And once everybody is set together, there can only be one person in motion at the snap, and they cannot be moving towards the line of scrimmage.
But from anywhere, from the line of scrimmage, from behind the line of scrimmage, it doesn't matter now.
Yes.
Excellent.
As long as they're going parallel to the other team's end zone or back.
Got
so
you.
If you come in and you start the line of scrimmage, you can still go into motion. Last year you couldn't; you had to be a yard off.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, Ron Leslie.
Can you hear me?
Ron Leslie.
Yes, can you hear me? My question was more about the football, so I need to go on live to ask this question on the camera here. So I'm having a debate. Can you guys see me yet?
Are you asking about the size of the football?
Yeah. We our AD actually got us footballs, but it doesn't seem to be the correct football from what I'm seeing from some of the other coaches' meetings I went to.
Jason, do you have an answer? Can you get a slide together and send that out to all of the coaches and ADs about what the section says the correct football is?
Yeah, I'll include that in the email that goes out tomorrow.
All right, yeah. Thanks.
Okay, Coach Ma. I'm sorry, the name's cut off.
Oh, good, Coach Matt. So I was asking, can the kicking team at any point after the ball is kicked downfield on a punt, can they get the ball and advance at any point? No. So it's just only the receiving team to receive the ball or not receive it. Okay.
Yep. The kicking team cannot advance the ball on a punt. Once you punt it away, so it's only the receiving team. That's similar to tackle football.
Yep.
All right, Jacob.
Hi. So in regards to punts, I assume there's no fair catch initiation that happens during a punt play, because I haven't seen that in the rules. But the other,
there is a fair catch according to the rules interpreter, but there's really no need for it.
well, okay. So what I'm thinking is on a punt that goes 5 yards, which would give the offense time to get down to the receiving team. So if the fair catch would come into play. I know because it's flag pulling, it may not be necessary, but the other side of that, if that catch is bobbled and the ball does come up in the air without touching the ground, the kicking team would have an opportunity to receive because it would be a live ball. Is that what I understand?
Correct, but they can't advance it. So a muff that goes up doesn't touch the ground. If the kicking team recovers it, it's their ball at the spot of recovery.
Right. Is there any like halo rule for that kicking team or that coverage team that has to give a 1 yard, 3 yards? What's the rule on that? Is my question.
So Sergio is kind of the expert on that one. Do you have
Sergio? Can you answer both of his questions, please? He asked about the muff. Can you kind of describe the muff and then the fair catch or halo rule?
Yeah, so it's just like tackle. They have to give him a buffer, which is, it doesn't specify, but you got to give him 2 to 3 yards, or give her 2 to 3 yards to be able to catch the ball. You can't be up in her face. You got to give her that buffer zone. If she does muff it, goes up in the air, Kay can recover it. They can advance it, but it goes back to, did they make the line to gain for that first down? If K didn't, it's still ours ball at that spot, first down going the other way. But yes, they do.
So even if they muff the return and the offense recovers short of the line to gain, it would still be a turnover on downs?
Yes, it would be. Yeah,
Okay.
it still would be.
Does
And
that
yes,
apply for?
Have to still give.
Would that
What?
apply for, let's say, an interception that is returned short of the line of gain and then a lateral that's intercepted?
No,
No.
because an interception is a change of possession with clean hands. A muff punt
Okay.
is not a change of possession with clean hands.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you
There
very
was
much.
never a change of possession.
But no, it wasn't a change of possession, but it touched that player, so they technically have possession. That's how it is in football, correct?
No.
It wasn't a change of possession, it was a muff.
A muff
So
is
it has
not
to
a
be a
change of
clean
possession.
change of possession.
Yeah, by definition.
Okay, so you're saying
by definition, a muff is an attempt to gain possession that failed.
There is no kickoff. We start drives on the 14. Are there any other? You cannot advance a muff. If the offense recovers a muff in the air, it's dead at the point where the offense gained possession. And then we determine if the offense achieved the yard to gain. Patrick M.
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had a couple questions about the punt return. I thought I read in the new rule adjustments that on a punt return, you are not allowed to do laterals or reverse or any other exchange of the ball. Only the person that catches it is allowed to advance it.
Sergio.
Hello.
So that one, I don't know. I saw you put that in the chat, and
Yeah.
I've been trying to find that one, and I have not seen where that's written.
Okay.
I have to do more
I don't-
digging on that one.
Yeah, it's my understanding from the training we had with the state.
Let's try and
it
look that one up
becomes-
before we get an answer out. Let us get that one and we can send that out. We can send that out through Jason.
Yeah, and I can even I printed the new rule adjustment, so if I can go grab that while we're still answering questions, where I can
I'm
screenshot
looking
that.
at the rule book right now too, and I cannot find it as well.
Okay, I think I
don't see that.
I would love
restriction
to run reverses, but when even the girls are like, we can't pitch it or nothing. I was like, I don't know. It says no in the
We
rule
need
book,
to-
but I'll
We
ask.
need to find that one, and we're not going to be able to answer all the questions in this meeting.
For sure.
So, like somebody in the chat said, having another meeting in a few weeks, hopefully we can try and work that out.
Right on. And then I had another quick one. Once the team declares punt, is there going to be a grace period where I can run my punt return team on?
Yes, the offense, the kicking team. Once the kicking team declares punt, you will be given a reasonable opportunity to substitute.
Perfect. All right, cool. That's all I got.
All right, so those are
Jeremiah,
the
your
questions.
question, it came up earlier, and we're going to get clarification from the CIF because the book says they cannot move out of the way. But we've heard interpretations from the state that the center can move to the side. So we're going to get confirmation.
All right.
The yard to clarify the question about the yard to gain. The yard to gain is always the next line at the initial spot at the start of a series of downs. If you are behind a 20, it's the 20. So yes, the first possession, the yard to gain, if you're possessing after a kickoff or after a touchdown or after a start of a period, the yard to gain will be the 20. You have to go 6 yards to get your initial first down. After that, it's 20 yards per. If we have fouls that carry over, we assess the foul first. Then we determine, once we've spotted the ball at the position after all fouls are assessed, then we determine which yard to gain applies. So if the play was dead at the 21, but there was a 15-yard personal foul that walks it back to the 6, the yard to gain is the 20, not the 40.
And then going back to Coach Hondo, yeah, the only way K or the kicking team can keep on a punt is in that scenario where it hasn't touched the ground. Anything that touches the ground, it's always going to be retained by the receiving team.
All offensive players are eligible. I see that question.
And then did Jacob have his hand up? Do you have a question, Jacob?
No, he actually just answered it. So I tried to put my hand down. Thank you, though.
All right, so we're right at an hour and a half. If you guys want to finish this up, try and get the people that need to go off. And if the people want to stick around, we can try and answer a few questions.
Sergio, did you want to take the coach's decision points? I can take it here. I've got it up. Hey, coaches, these are important areas where you have to make a decision. So I want you to be thinking through how you're going to handle them and be prepared for them. Pre-game, we need to know from you when we have our meeting with you. Do you want to possess first possession or do you want to defer? If you don't win the toss and they don't defer, what side do you want to defend? After a touchdown, you need to confirm your PAT election with the officials ASAP. I know in the heat of the moment you're celebrating and all that, but we need to get that ball down. With the new rule that the clock is dead during the PAT, we want to get that ball down and get back to regular play. Fouls. Our goal as officials is to not confuse you, but to just give you the best outcome for you when a foul comes up. If for some reason you've got a crazy idea or you want to do something different, you need to let us know. And then always be aware when there's a foul under 2 minutes and we come over and let you know, and we get your option regarding the foul, we need to know, do you want to have the clock start on the snap or the ready? It's obvious. Most of the time it's going to be obvious under 2 minutes, but at the end of the second quarter, we need to know, do you want the clock? Do you just want to let the clock run out even if you don't have possession or even if you're going to get possession? Or do you want it to stop and start on the ready? So have those considerations in mind and know what you want to do. Fouls on kicking plays, kick catch interference. You can decline the foul, take the result of the play. You can also go 10 yards from the spot of the foul, or you can take a 10-yard foul and a re-kick. Other fouls, when the kicking team commits any other fouls, you can add it to the end of the play. So have all that in mind. We're going to try and present you with the best option, but you want to think that through, because 10 yards and a re-kick, depending on playing conditions, that's one we're not, you need to have that point made up in your mind. And then the last slide coming up here, want to make sure we're real clear about managing your sideline. We expect you to manage your sideline. I think for the most part, we had pretty good sidelines with the exception of the restricted area. Look, coaches, being 2 yards closer to the sideline is not going to help the players hear you, and it's not going to change your view of the game. We need you out of the restricted area. We need your assistance out of the restricted area. Keep that area clean. When we're running upfield, we don't want to run into you. We don't want to have to dodge you. Unsportsmanlike. things that we are going to be very strict in our enforcement. We're not here to be the no fun police, but when it turns into taunting or baiting or directed at an opponent, that is going to be a foul. We don't want to see balls spiked at the feet of an opponent. We had that in a game. I had that in a game last year. Big first down, and she danced for a little bit and then spiked it on the feet of the opponent. Can't have that. And then you need to make sure both your assistants, and your players are all aware. Once you have that first unsportsmanlike foul, the second unsportsmanlike on that individual is a disqualification. Flagrant, in flag, we also have a flagrant unsportsmanlike, and that is if the conduct is so egregious that we determine that you're not going to get the first UNS, you're going to be DQ'd on that first UNS, as opposed to getting a counter and then getting a second opportunity to commit another UNS. Take control of your sidelines. Get the riffraff and the hangers on out of there. It should be you and your staff. If you can't keep them out of there, you will be held responsible for them. We are going to be very quick to enforce the warning, sideline warning, 5 yards, 10 yards. And that 10-yard on that third sideline, after that third sideline violation, that 10-yard becomes an automatic first down if it's committed by the defense. We need these sidelines kept clean because we need it to be safe. We don't have enough officials in this section to cover all of the games. We're struggling to cover everything. And when one official gets injured and goes down because your coach was hanging out in the restricted area, it has a ripple effect throughout a lot of games and a lot of weeks. So keep that area clean. Let us have our room to work, and we'll make sure that we're giving you what you need to do your job.
All right, thank you, Jake. We got a few questions left, but Jake, is that pretty much what we have?
Yeah, that's what we've got. Everything else is in the slides.
Okay, so real quick on the questions in the forum or in the chat real quick. We're going to do our best to get the ball down and get you guys going as fast as possible, but your offense does need to wait for us to get out of the way after putting the ball down. We're not going to try and slow you down. We're going to get the ball down as quickly as we can. Celebrations, no taunting, no planned celebrations. If the players are going and giving a high five that are on the field, that's fine. You can't have your benches clear and have everybody go, you said as a team, go celebrate in the end zone. No. Your players on the field can high five, that sort of stuff. No planned celebrations. Other than that, I mean, jumping up, jump, high five, chest bump, all that stuff. That's fine as long as it's immediate, going to the sideline, nothing planned, delayed, or taunting. Again, you guys, we have not covered everything. We know that there's a ton of questions. We appreciate you giving us this now over an hour and a half. It was ambitious for us to think we could do this in an hour. We'd be more than happy to try to set this up again as we get into and actually have some reference points. And we did have some video. Obviously, we had some issues with the video. And in that next meeting, we should have, a little bit of video that we can look at.
I see a really good question that we might not have been clear with.
Yeah.
You don't get to pick the spot of the ball except for PATs. The ball will be placed in the middle, or excuse me, where the player was down between the hash marks. If it's outside the hash marks, we're going to move it to the hash. So that's that 8-yard spot up the middle. It's why we need those pylons at the end of if you don't have goalposts. If you have goalposts, we're going to spot off of the goalposts for the pylons. You do get to make a selection, though, on those PATs.
Jake, could you cycle through maybe the first 5 or 6 slides? There's somebody asking so that they can get a image of them.
Yeah, We got
Any-
him working by giving him to Jason.
Anybody else with any important questions for the group? We'll do our best to send this slide out. Hopefully Jason can send it out through the section so everybody can have that. Jake put his email there. That's going to be one of the best places to send if you have a question, and then we can try and get back to you. We can try and put a list together of the questions, and then also possibly get that to Jason to get sent out to everybody. I'm not sure
I may have
about
missed it, but
compression.
is it? Can someone explain the yard of? Sorry,
I got you next.
I may have
I'm
missed
seeing
it.
GT. Give me 1 second on this one.
Okay.
You're next.
Got it.
Dale, Sergio, Jacob, compression or spandex shorts, are they illegal?
They are not. If a player is wearing, we want to encourage you to encourage your players to, if they're wearing their team uniform short, to have
Wear them
compression
under.
or spandex shorts underneath.
Yes.
Because those shorts get pulled down, they get ripped, and we want to be as respectful as possible to the young ladies. But if you wear the spandex or the compression as an alternative to the team uniform short, it needs to be the same color.
JT,
And then what about the sleeveless jerseys, Jake? I think they're authorized, right? They don't have to have sleeves.
You don't have to have sleeves on your jerseys.
Yeah.
But the uniform rules haven't changed really at all since last year.
But yes, Coach Hendo, they have to have the same type of shorts. They all have to be in uniform. So you can't have a player having black shorts, another player having blue shorts, or things like that.
JT, did you have a question?
Yeah, just about the line of scrimmage. Is the ball in the middle of the line of scrimmage as in traditional football, or is that the leading edge of the line of scrimmage? So there's a 1 yard buffer towards the defense, or is the ball in the middle of that 1 yard?
You want a 1 yard buffer basically from towards the defense.
Yeah. So in tackle, the neutral zone is defined by the ball. In flag, the neutral zone is defined by the tip of the ball, the forward tip of the ball to 1 yard beyond.
The forward tip. So the ball is technically not in the 1 yard then.
No, the ball is behind the neutral zone.
Okay. And then do we have to have those discs, or is it just eyeball?
No, we are not doing the discs in the CIF. I suspect it will come at some point. We will spot the ball.
We only have 3 officials at most.
Your center can't take the ball to the huddle like you'll see in the NAIA videos. We are going to spot the ball. We will spot the ball 99% of the time. We'll blow the whistle briefly and we'll chop the play in for the 25-second clock. But we will always signal the start of the 25-second clock.
Okay, so if the ball's in the middle of the field, not near a hash, is it just sort of best guess as to what a yard is to where the girl can line up to rush? Not best guess, but just
we want you to use.
We're
going to try to utilize that line official to help the players step off. So they're going to kind of give you that yard from there.
The line judges are instructed to define the neutral zone with their feet, and similar to how we had the rush line judge last year define the 7 yard mark by where he was standing. This year, your girls are going to have to look. They look, and again, we're not getting out lasers to try and measure it because we know there's going to be some variance. It's obviously much easier to call if there's one of the big lines across the middle there. But we're going to, what we're looking for is the clear intrusion into the neutral zone. And I don't think they're going to be that hard to call. The girl who lines up in the wrong spot, maybe an inch or two over the line, is not a concern.
In a inter squad game we had last week, the girls were coming right up to the line, and we just, verbally said, "Step back." Defense, step back. They stepped back, but we weren't measuring it with the tape measure or anything. But you could, there needs to be that gap.
And one thing, I know some of you get caught up in this. We are moving for NCOA North and South. We're moving our officials' positioning a little bit. We want to get that back judge in a true back judge position, so they're going to be coming onto the field, and so the referee is going to be moving closer to the sideline to help judge the sideline. Now, how NCOA North and South officials, each official is going to have some preference on that, but the idea, exactly where they want line up, but the idea is that we really want that over the top coverage from the back judge this year. And the other thing that we are going to be emphasizing is ball spotting. We're trying to keep these games moving quickly, and we're also working to make sure that we give your girls everything that they earned on a running or passing play. So we are putting in place mechanics to help us get to the spot, particularly those money spots where it's close to the yard to gain, close to the goal. Those are points of emphasis for us, because I did hear that feedback a lot about spotting, and it is tough with 3 officials. Those national championship games with the 4th official, it's amazing how much more efficient the game is, but we understand the considerations that go into decisions like that.
Hey, we want to thank everybody for being on here. We know this has been a long meeting. We'll do our best to get something planned. I think it works better, even though we may not all be getting every answer we want or hearing exactly what we want to hear, but we are all at least hearing the same thing, even if we're interpreting it maybe slightly different. Once we get out there on the field, I think it's going to fall into place. This has been effective where it has been used. I think we just need to actually get out there and do it, like most things. And again, I want to thank everybody for being on here. And we will send out something to you guys, hopefully through Jason, so that we can set up another one of these after we've had a few games, maybe a few weeks under our belt, so we can come back together and finish that. Jason, do you have any closing remarks?
No, just a huge thank you to you guys for putting this together and answering these questions. And thank you for asking those questions from a lot of the coaches. That was huge. And that, obviously gives the officials a place to kind of start doing some research as well, making sure we're all on the same page. So we'll grow through this together. Huge thank you for everybody attending, and we'll send a bunch of stuff out tomorrow and try to get everybody going in the same direction. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate everything you do.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jason, for giving up your Sunday night. Big thank you to Jake for all the time and effort he put in for these slides.
Thank you, guys.
We still have some questions. Can we stay on and ask them, or are we just off?
No, we can spend a little bit more time.
Okay, I had a question.
I'll stay on.
Yeah, so I have a question.
Go ahead.
So a few questions. One, who's watching the screening? Like, how many referees do we have, and who's watching that?
We're gonna have between 2 and 3. The intent is to have 3 on each field, and all officials will be watching the screening depending on where it's occurring.
Okay, so like hypothetically saying, right? So we had a scrimmage or whatever, like a little tournament thing, and it was just the rules were just introduced, so we didn't really understand fully, and neither did our girls. But the other team, they did, but they were rushing in, and we're trying to get placement. And then when we went on defense, their girls are like kind of like being very aggressive with the screen blocking, and so it's like we don't even know like who's watching that, because then you also got receivers who's watching that, and then so everybody's watching the screen blocking in the middle of the field, who's watching receivers on the outside as far as coverages and often pass interference and stuff like that.
Well,
so that'll be pretty traditional based on, I'm just referencing tackle, based on what you might think of with a tackle game. So you have a back judge and a line judge. They are going to be responsible for for watching a lot of that kind of screening that you're talking about in relationship to screeners or defensive backs. The screening that may occur with a block behind a line of scrimmage, that's primarily going to be the responsibility of the referee.
Okay.
Yeah. All I can really to add to that is we are all working together to get the mechanics down. And we are working a lot of our training this year. What I think you're going to see is I'm confident we're going to have a higher level of referee mechanics and ability to cover, because last year the rule book was so complicated that it took us a long time just to get through and understand it. This year, this rule book is frankly, it's a lot simpler, and it's allowed us to spend time, and we've had groups meeting, discussing, debating, etc., how our mechanics are going to allow us to give you the best officiated game that we can. But I want to tell you, it's exciting for me to work with Dale and Sergio, because we actually have multiple groups working together to talk about these problems.
Okay, appreciate that. And then,
thank you for the question. So, Daniel,
excuse me,
I had a
just
quick
for
question about running, like the running, spinning. Last year there was a spinning of change of direction. How's that this year?
No problem, no foul.
The only time spinning becomes a foul is if you're out of control and the runner spins into the defender, then it's illegal contact on the runner. But just the act of spinning or jumping is no longer a penalty.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, Carlos.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm from NCOA South, and I'm an official. And my question is, can a punt that does not cross the neutral zone be advanced by the kicking team? Because in tackle football, it can be.
No punts can be advanced by K at all. Even if it's behind the neutral zone, it cannot.
Okay, thank you.
All right, D. Edwards.
Yes. I just wanted to go back to defense again, where it says batting the ball down on one of your slides. What exactly do you mean by no batting the ball down?
I think it's really you want to get into referencing the quarterback. If you have a defensive back batting the ball down out of the air, that'd be fine. Is that what you were referencing with that slide, Jake?
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure which slide that we're talking about.
Well, let's forget the slide. He's talking about batting. The defensive player batting the ball down, defending a player, that's completely legal. What Jake was talking about, and the slides may have been messed up, but when you have your hands up as a rusher, you're putting yourself into a position where you can very likely get a foul.
Right.
Yeah.
The only time batting comes really into play as a DB is if that receiver catches the ball and the defensive player comes in and bats it out of her hands.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't do that. There's no stripping.
Yeah, you cannot do that. If the ball's in the air, that DB has every right to bat it out of the air. But once there's hands on that ball, the offensive player has hands on that ball, she can't come in and swat it, strip it, or bat it out of her hands.
Okay. So wait, let's go back to the part where you said once she has the ball in her hands. So let's say the ball is in a process of being caught, right? She just first gets her hands on the ball, and can the DB still come in and swat that pass away? Or is it, hey, once she got her hands on the ball, you have to go for the flag no matter what?
I think it's going to get down to a judgment call. If you have two players making a bona fide attempt at the ball, batting, swatting, playing the ball, whatever term you want to use,
right.
I think the majority of officials are going to let that go. You could have an official view, one off or two off officials view that as the player who had possession. But if you're contesting the ball, the players, are contesting the ball.
Gotcha. Thanks a lot, you guys. Appreciate it.
John Avery.
Yeah, it's kind of a dual question. It's in relationship to pitching downfield. It actually could be behind the line too. If two offensive players are running parallel, first question is if the pitch person interferes with, or the pitch receiver interferes with the defender trying to go for a flag, but it is, running parallel for a pitch, would that be considered a penalty? And then the second part is if two people parallel running down the line,
so real quick,
the defender purposely gets in the way of the pitch receiver and interferes with that pitch translation, either behind the line of scrimmage or past the line of scrimmage. How is that going to be called?
So first off, the parallel thing is going to be an issue because the pitch has to be backwards to begin with. Okay, so the pitch has to be backwards.
Well, you know what I mean. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's an important piece because if the second pitch or pitch beyond the line of scrimmage has to clearly be backwards.
Right.
The other ones are really going to be a judgment call by the officials. They're going to make that determination of who had the right of way or who was in position first.
But if that pitch is in the air, it can be knocked down. The defender can come in and knock it down if they can also catch it and return it for a touchdown. But all the jumping questions, all that stuff, that's all last year. We don't penalize that anymore. The only thing that is still a foul is hurdling. Cannot hurdle a defender.
All right, so we're going to be pushing 2 hours. These are going to be the last two questions. So, Coach.
Okay, so sorry to have so many questions. So, so what I want to do is I want to have a hurry up offense, right? Because I want to set up two plays, and so I want to run one play and then hurry up to the line of scrimmage, run another play. So if on the first play, if we're running an option and then they grab our flag, we have to get the ball to the referee, or can we just go spot it down? And then with that, do we already let the referee know, like, hey, we're running a hurry up offense, so we need this ball spot? Or like, is it per play? Like, how do they do that, right?
In the pregame conference, I would definitely let the referee know that you want to run a hurry up offense. Your offense still, now this is a two-part answer, which I apologize for. It is always helpful as officials when players give us back the ball.
Copy.
And especially in a game where there is a big chunk of it where the clock is just running, like to really make the game more efficient, yes, hand the ball back. But we really want the officials putting the ball down, spotting it, and putting it into play. So your players do need to wait for the officials to get out of the way. But let them know we want to run a hurry up offense, so help them get out of the way.
Perfect. Okay, my last question, which is kind of a two-parter, is I was talking about the shorts because the information that I was received is that they have to wear spandex under their shorts. They cannot wear them as shorts, kind of like a 7-on-7 passing league thing. So now I'm hearing that you can do that, which that wasn't the information I received. Also, if the other team, what I was referring to in the chat was that if the other team has, let's say one girl has spandex shorts on, the other one has loose shorts on, yet they're all the same color, quote unquote, is that okay, or is that a penalty?
That's going to have to be a question that comes out from Jason. That's going to have to be a section decision on the uniform. Whatever they tell us they want us to enforce, that's what we'll go with.
Okay. And then to tie with that, the jerseys, if a school has blue and another school has red, but one of our jerseys has blue and red and some white, and we're the home team, can we make the decision to tell them they can wear whatever jersey they want to wear? Or do they actually, quote unquote, have to wear a white jersey? Like, what is the protocol for that? Because I feel like the home team has the option to say so.
Coach, the rule is
all the jersey
home team wears dark, the visitors wear white.
Okay, and then Jason, what were you going to say?
It's up to you.
Hold on. Jason, what were you going to say?
All the jersey rules are written in the NFHS rulebook, just like they are in other sports. So it gives you all the exact specifications of what your jerseys need to match.
So typically, though, colored jersey, white jersey.
Yep, and it tells you what you can wear adornment wise on it and all of that stuff, like logo size and patches and all that.
Well, I understand that. It was just a certain day that there's a certain jersey being worn. It's an alternate jersey, and so I was making sure it's already understood from both teams. I was just asking the question from you guys if that's like if the referee's not going to say something about it, even though we've already both agreed on what we're wearing for that day.
But if you're going to switch, like if you're the home team and you want to wear white, that needs to come through our office.
Okay, is there somebody that's actually not what we're gonna do, but it's something. So I want to talk to somebody about it. Is there a number or email or something you guys can send me?
Yeah, just call the section office and ask for Jason, and they'll send you back to me.
Okay, perfect.
What school are you at, Coach?
I'm sorry.
What school are you at?
I'm at Vista Del Lago.
Vista Del Lago. Okay, awesome, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, give us a call, and Kyle has my phone number as well.
All right.
Okay.
Last question is going to go to Jacob.
Hey guys, I'll try to make it quick. I just wanted to clarify what limitations would be for switching out the ball now that kicking is allowed, whether we're allowed to do that for punt plays, for a different kicking ball, and also during wet conditions. That's my question.
I'll give it to you simple. There is no such thing as a kicking ball. You're going to kick the ball that's out on the field. There's no such thing in tackle. There's no such thing in flag.
Okay, how about wet conditions?
Yeah, as long as you have somebody there on the sideline and you're doing it in a timely manner, it's not an issue. It's just we're not going to swap the balls out if it's delaying the game.
Right. We had games last year once the time changed where field was wet and we were having trouble snapping the ball. So that's all I wanted to ask about.
Yep.
And on a
Yeah,
wet
it's not a
game,
problem, but
as your referee on a wet, I'm sorry, as your referee on a wet game, I'm carrying a towel. I'm drying the ball as part of spotting it. At some point, my towels
That
are all
wasn't
wet.
a thing for our games previous season, so that's why I wanted to ask.
All right. Out of respect to everybody's time, I just want to say thank you one more time. But I'm gonna go ahead and end this meeting. You have a good rest of your Sunday, and we'll start getting some more information out Monday, and I'm sure we'll be in constant communication here through the next couple weeks. So thank you, everybody.